Number 10. Dead level. This is a real experience that a player who goes by the name Princess Chai on Twitter tweeted about. It was apparently a sort of hidden gem if we are to believe what Mediatonic claims, though some fans think it could be something much more sinister. This player experienced being spawned into a level filled with floating dead jelly bean corpses, festively dressed up in red and green with the Mediatonic M and T's on their back and front. Mediatonic confessed it was actually a rare promotional level that you only had a very slight chance of spawning into, a sort of Easter egg if you will. But others have wondered if this is where all the bad beans go, and if these corpses perhaps represent Fall Guys beans who have been caught cheating in the game. The dead jelly bean level continues to be a mythical level that many fans craft their own creepypastas around. Are these all the dead beans who didn't make it out of the round? If this is meant to be festive and fun, why are all the beans floating, motionless, and seemingly lifeless? Number 9. Arms are gone. I had been playing Fall Guys non-stop for 2 weeks. Okay, I took breaks to go to the bathroom and eat, but seriously, I had not slept. Which is why a lot of people seem to dismiss this story initially, but I swear, every detail here is true. I was playing an intense game of Fall Guys where the final match was a hexagon. Last person left standing wins. I had been on a losing streak, but this time I was ready to do whatever it took to win. There were only a few hexes left, and I managed to shove the last survivor off of mine. It felt good to win. Sure, I had to fight a little dirty, but hey, that's the game, I told myself. It was after that match that I fell asleep. I must have passed out from exhaustion. In my dream was the bean that I had pushed, dressed in a dinosaur outfit, but there was something wrong about it. It was torn and covered in blood. In my dream, the dinosaur began to slowly gnaw off my arms as punishment for pushing them. I awoke in a sweat a short while later. Since then, I haven't been able to get a good night's rest. I've tried everything, but I'm haunted by the same nightmare. The player I beat keeps haunting my every sleeping minute. If I don't sleep soon, I'm worried I'll die of exhaustion. Please help. And before we move on to the next point, thank you so much for watching. If you are enjoying these spooky creepypastas, don't forget to smash that like button. Number 8. The final crown. I wasn't always here. I used to be out there, like you, but I just couldn't stop. I needed that crown, and because I cheated, because I shoved and fought my way to the top, now I'm being punished. Every day I'm stuck falling, hoping, praying that someone will pick up a controller, log on, play the game. Because falling forever is actually the worst. It's like you are stuck in an endless loop, like you are watching your life flash before your eyes on repeat, always feeling that lurch in your stomach of peril, but never actually feeling that wet thud of death. All I need is a crown. I know it. If I can get one, I will be free. If I can get one, I will go home. I will see my parents again. Will you play? Will you help me win my freedom? If so, be careful, lest you join me in this bright and cheerful yet never-ending floating hellscape where no one can hear you scream, where none of us can scream or cry out for help. Number 7. Spooky dead skins. Lindsay had never seen these skins before. She hadn't heard that they were coming to the shop. Spooky dead skins was the name of the bundle. She thought perhaps they were here as part of a Halloween-themed thing. Spooky skins sounded fun. The preview seemed to have a ghost running alongside a cat witch and some kind of Frankenskin. Cute, she thought. She bought them using her Steam gift card she had got for her birthday. But when she went to equip them, they weren't in her wardrobe. Instead, she saw a skin that appeared to be a bloody version of herself, covered in stitches. What was creepy was that it looked just like her, down to the fact that she had streaks of blue in her hair. She tried to look for a way to uninstall the bundle, but when she did that, all of her wardrobe turned into her own bloody skin. Her face options were all crying blood, and whenever she entered a game, everyone else's skin also looked human-like and messed up. She hasn't been able to get the game to return to normal, and none of her friends apparently ever saw the spooky dead skins. Number 6. Real life round. I heard of Fall Guys from a friend and knew it was free to play on PlayStation, so I decided to jump on and give it a try. I was bored and didn't have much else going on, and everyone had told me how fun it was. As I started to play through various rounds, running around, I saw what everyone was talking about. The game was very fun, upbeat, and energizing. I was having a ton of fun when all of a sudden I noticed the new round that I'd fallen into was different than the others. Really different. The colors were more grayscale, the music was more eerie, and the level looked just like my living room. My guy couldn't jump and looked tired. Instead of the 3, 2, 1, go on the screen, I saw these prompts: get ready, live, or die. The couch my guy was sitting on began to roll over and over, and parts of the room began to fall away. I noticed in my peripherals that it looked like the room I was in was also falling away. I was the only one in the level, but there was a timer with a skull on it in the corner. I lost my balance. Like my guy, I also felt tired and dizzy, as though I myself were actually trying to stay atop the rotating couch. I managed to catch my balance and stay on, but lost it once more as the time was about to run out. Fortunately, a part of the guy was still touching the couch. I was safe. I was out of breath. I had felt as if I could have died, as though I'd just free fallen onto the couch in my living room. Number 5. Eternal Fall. I have been playing Fall Guys since it first was released. I love it. Or I loved it. Until I had this terrible experience. I'm not sure if it was a glitch or something more sinister. You can be the judge. I had just logged on to play and was getting ready to jump into a match. I carefully selected my bean's wardrobe and skin, putting on a chicken outfit and changing my face to be purple. I had just unlocked that little purple face and I was excited to show it off. When I hit play, I waited for the game to start, watching my avatar fall on the screen. The weird thing was, I never entered the game. I fell for a long time, and I mean a long time. When it had been over 10 minutes, I attempted to close the game thinking it was glitching out. I couldn't close it. I tried resetting my computer, it wouldn't work. I noticed the screen getting darker. Instead of blue skies around me, the skies were blood red, with dark thunder clouds in the background. I could hear the thunder and almost feel the rain on my own shoulders. I looked up. The room I was in itself looked normal. Delete. A demonic voice emanated from my headphones, low and booming. I threw off my headphones instinctively, but I could still hear the voice in my mind. Die, it said. Delete. I watched on the screen as my jelly bean avatar was skinned and pulled apart before the screen went black. Number 4. The rhythm. Do not listen to the music. If you are playing Fall Guys, mute it, or better yet, avoid playing it altogether. This is a story that happened to a friend who no longer plays. I haven't experienced this myself in-game, but they have, and I'm warning you, it's dangerous. Sean loved playing Fall Guys. He was great at it too. In one session he managed to get 5 crowns, and that was over the course of a few hours. He won most of his game, and I thought he was likely in the top players in the country, possibly even in the world. Sean's secret, or so he claimed, was that he listened to the soundtrack constantly. He said it helped him stay in the rhythm of the game. I'd started doing so too, to try to improve my own game, until this happened. I got a text from Sean one night that just read, "Come outside, I'm waiting." I was confused. Sean should be asleep. It was the middle of the night. But out of curiosity, I went downstairs and stepped outside my front door. Across the street, I saw someone standing in a hot dog mascot costume. They were across the street. They waved at me. I was pretty creeped out, so I went back inside. I checked my phone. "I'm coming." Another text from Sean read. I went to open the door and saw the hot dog crossing the street. I was confused, scared, and I called out Sean's name, hoping it was him, hoping it was some kind of joke. Sean froze in the middle of the street and was hit by a car. The last memory he had was of just listening to his Fall Guys soundtrack while he was in the shower, and then everything gets foggy from there. The doctors believe it was some kind of subliminal messaging in the music that may have prompted him to do what he did. I don't know what he would have done if I hadn't snapped him out of it. And personally, I don't want to know. Number 3. All I can remember is falling. How did I get here? Falling. All I can remember is falling. When I land, I'm confused. It's as though I'm seeing through my eyes for the first time. There are a bunch of small guys. I can't speak. I can't scream. I have no mouth, only eyes. Giant numbers loom above us, counting down. What does it all mean? I feel compelled when I see the words "go" to join the fellow guys in running across these deadly, teetering seesaws, but I don't know why. We are so high up. If I fall, will I die? I survive the round, but notice the sorrow in the eyes of the guys who do not. Those I pass look horrified, terror in their eyes. What happens if you don't qualify? In the next round, I notice my opponents are wearing the colored skin of dead Fall Guys. It's stapled together over top of them. I can see blood at the seams. They all look angry, aggressively, desperately shoving into one another. This time, I don't qualify. I am pushed off the small shelf, falling to my unknown doom. How did I get here? Falling. All I can remember is falling. Number 2. Victory Visitor. One night after playing Fall Guys, I crawled into bed ready to go to sleep, but I couldn't fall asleep. I kept thinking of how close I was to unlocking the next reward in the season. So after my parents said goodnight, I snuck downstairs to go back onto the computer. I booted it up, put my headphones on, turned the volume down, and proceeded to play. Halfway through a round, I thought I heard something. I took my headphones off, but didn't hear anyone up. I didn't see any lights on other than the glow of my screen as I peered around. But just as I went to return to my game, I heard a slam. It sounded like a door or a cupboard maybe. Not wanting to give myself up, I stayed quiet. I was going to lose the match if I left, so I tried to ignore the sound and get back in the game. I put the headphones back on, quietly. I raced to the finish line of the final round, jumping and reaching for the crown, and I got it! I let out a cheer, I couldn't help myself. This was my first crown in a long time. As I sat up, I felt my chair bump against something. I took off my headphones. I could hear heavy breathing. I turned around. Behind me was my avatar, out of breath, panting, huge, over 6 feet tall. The crown was in their jellied and wobbling hand. They lifted it before smashing it down on my head. Number 1. Transformation. Do you remember the image of the Fall Guys internal skeleton that was going around a while ago? The one that was created by one of the Mediatonic senior design artists and confirmed as canon? I do. In fact, that image haunted me so much I can't forget it. At first I thought it was strange I couldn't get it out of my mind, but now I'm convinced that image has cursed me somehow. It turns up everywhere. One night I received image messages from an unknown number that were all the pictures of that being's internal skeleton. When I went to school, it somehow showed on a piece of paper wedged in my textbook. I saw it on the side of a bus, on a billboard. Finally, I decided to go to the doctors thinking I must be losing my mind. It must be as a result of some undue stress. I explained the problem to my doctor and they decided to take an x-ray, thinking it could be related to a recent injury I'd suffered from a car accident. I had been experiencing some soreness as well, so it kinda made some sense. When my doctor received the x-ray, the look on their face was that of shock. My skeleton seemed to be slowly morphing into that twisted one belonging to the Fall Guy in the picture. Number 10. Hangman level. I used to love the game Hangman, and it feels like somehow my computer, or more specifically the game Fall Guys, figured that out. Have any of you experienced this level? Let me know. As far as I know, I can find no record of it anywhere. When I start the level, I'm a little bean on the platform. The round is called Hangman. What happens? In the game, other beans race around selecting letters to try and solve a puzzle in front of them. But the only strange thing was I couldn't compete. I was actually one of the hangmans. We're in teams, and if your team guesses wrong, one of your hangmans gets hanged. The weird thing was when my team guessed wrong and I was the one to be hung with what looked like a candy rope, like a pull-and peel, I also found myself short of breath. Is this a real round? Is this normal? Was it anxiety? Or was it something else? Number 9. Family competition. Charlie loved her family. They always supported her, and even bought her Fall Guys when she couldn't stop talking about it after watching her favorite streamer play it on YouTube. But something went wrong once Charlie started playing the game. She noticed little things changing in her house. Her parents and her brother wearing dramatic outfits with really bright colors that looked almost cartoonish. Then one day she woke up, but when she went downstairs for breakfast, her family wasn't there. She creeped up to her parents' room and noticed in their place were the giant round bodies of the Fall Guys. They were no longer her parents, they were her competitors. They pushed her forcefully, she fell hard backwards, smashing her head off the wardrobe. And before we move on to the next spot, if you are loving these creepypastas as much as we love sharing them with you, be sure to give this video a thumbs up. It really helps us out, and thank you to those who already have done that. Number 8. First or else. I thought I had gotten quite good at Fall Guys. I was very competitive and always aimed to do better, but one day I was having a really rough session. I just couldn't seem to qualify past the first level. Frustrated after my 6th failure, I threw my controller at the screen. The screen cracked and my computer screen seemed to turn to a red tint. In my headphones I heard a voice whisper, "Time to compete." The game auto-played. I reached for my controller worried about the screen, thinking I'd broken it and somehow also the game. The controller still seemed to work and I found myself running through the obstacle course with more passion than ever before. I was the first to qualify. I let out a cheer. Next time around I qualified 2nd. Not as good, but still pretty great. As I jumped over the line, I noticed a stabbing pain in my hand. My thumb began to bleed before I noticed it dislocating and tearing away from my hand on its own. First or else, the qualifying screen read. Number 7. The bottom. Have you ever wondered what really happens when you fall in Fall Guys? One time the game glitched and I found out. As I fell, instead of spawning back at the top, I continued to follow the little jelly bean. It fell through a blue sky, a green sky, a gray sky, the bean changing colors with the sky. And then the clouds faded away and I started to notice flames engulfing me as I fell. They were orange and yellow at first, but then I noticed they were white hot. I don't think this is a part of the game that they want you to see. The falling scene ended with a gruesome sound as my Fall Guy was impaled on a spike. When I spun the camera around, I noticed demons as far as I could see. Fall Guys demons anyways. days, it looked like I was in hell. Number 6. Obstacle obsession. Fall Guys is a game I quickly became obsessed with. Obsessed to the point that I started feeling like I was always in the game. I began jumping the gap between the bus and the sidewalk as opposed to just stepping on. I started seeing puddles or ice as an opportunity to test out my goo slides in real life. Anytime I saw a hammer, I chose to try and distance myself from it. The jungle gym at school became my own obstacle course. At first this was fun until I realized I couldn't stop. The game seemed to have gotten into my mind somehow, brainwashed me to the point that separating reality from gameplay was impossible. I started dressing like a Fall Guy. One day when I was getting on the subway, I found myself obsessively staring at the doors. They reminded me of the sliding doors I'd seen in the game. I couldn't take my eyes off of them, and I found myself uncontrollably drawn to running back and forth through them at the last second to prove my prowess. The first time I succeeded, no problem. I decided to wait a little longer the second time when running out. Nearly made it, and then I felt compelled to wait even a little longer, running back on. This time, I wasn't so lucky. My arm hadn't made it through the door, but before I could pull my arm free, it slammed closed one more time. This time with more force, nearly severing my arm fully. It dangled by a piece of skin, the bone shattered as I looked at it in horror. I still play Fall Guys because I can't stop, but with one less arm now. Number 5. Under the skin. Have you ever wondered what the Fall Guys look like outside of their costume? I did, until I found a bootlegged copy of the game that answered my question. This game claimed to be a skinless Fall Guy version, to reveal the truth of what the beans looked like without all their fancy full bodysuits and costumes. I honestly expected them to look like jelly beans, but what I saw was much more disturbing than that. These weren't just beans. When I booted up the game, it immediately took me to a screen where I could pick skins or remove skins. With anticipation, I clicked the button to remove all skins and artificial colors. What I saw shocked me. Underneath all of that was a shriveled looking creature with a big round face. Its arms and legs were plump, but its mid-body was like a rail-thin skeleton. You could see its ribs and its chest heaving. Its eyes, without the skin bordering it, almost looked like they were bulging out of its head, and its mouth was twisted into a grotesque toothy grin. Number 4. Fall Guys 666. One night Scott was playing Fall Guys at home alone. His parents had gone to the hospital to pick up and take home his grandma who'd been sick. Fall Guys was nice and cheery, the perfect game to play and not have to worry about being home alone. That was until he noticed Fall Guy 666. That wasn't even really the right numbers to be a proper ID tag, he thought. This Fall Guy was also weird. It didn't attempt the obstacle course, just ran up and allowed itself to fall to its doom on repeat. Scott watched it for a second and then dismissed it as another player maybe having a bad connection. He attempted the course and got sent back to the start, his last checkpoint. Fall Guy 666 was still there and seemed to wave at him. He went to run past it but was grabbed. Then he got an alert on his phone. It was a text from an unknown number. "Stay with me," it read. Scott attempted to get away, wiggling around, and eventually got free of the Fall Guy's grasp. He was a little freaked out but continued the obstacle course. When he made it past the level, he noticed he had multiple missed texts. His phone had been on silent, and after the last creepy text, he'd just flipped the screen face down. The text read, "You shouldn't have done that. I just wanted to be friends." "Why? I'm going to get you. I know you. I know your parents." Followed by a picture of his parents getting out of their vehicle to pick up his grandmother. His parents never came home that night and are still missing. Scott is living with his uncle and no longer plays online games of any kind. Number 3. A visitor. I spent all day playing Fall Guys, so much so that before I fell asleep, surrounded by my Fall Guys plushies, it was all I could think about. It took a while for me to actually drift into sleep because of this. When I did, I had a nice dream of playing Fall Guys. I was doing well, I was easily getting through courses without falling, avoiding all the obstacles handily. I jumped and reached a crown, but then I heard a noise, like a siren. I awoke in my room, and I saw in the corner of my room a large figure standing there in the dark. I was terrified, and I went to get up, but I couldn't move. The creature came towards me. It was a Fall Guy wearing a crown, but with a bloody face and eyes. Blood was dripping out from underneath it, and it reached out towards me. It came close to my face. I felt the blood drip onto my face. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. Wanted to move, but I couldn't. I felt as though I couldn't breathe. The creature was heavy as it leaned over me. Horrified, I laid there helplessly. Finally, after what felt like hours of it terrorizing me, it left the room, drifting out through the door. I slowly found myself able to move again. Worried for my parents, I turned on my light and ran into the hallway, burst into their room, but they were asleep, and there was no Fall Guy there. It had all been the worst kind of dream. a waking nightmare. And yet when I went to the bathroom, the drops of blood that dripped off of it were still on my face. Number 2. Cursed crossover. This is the story of the cursed computer. If you ever come across a computer that has a red Snoopy sticker on its side and a little notch near its base, you have been warned. This computer creates crossover games somehow. It might sound fun until you realize that this blend of games is based on whatever you play the most, and that these entities can also come into your home. Consider what kinds of games you play the most. For many of us, these are horror-themed games or battle royales. I've attempted to destroy the computer, which brought a combined character of a Fall Guy and William Afton into my home. But even though I burnt it in the fireplace and attempted to smash it to pieces with a hammer, it has kept returning. Your only way to rid yourself of the cursed computer is to sell it. The great thing is it won't be your problem anymore, but it will be someone else's, which is why I'm writing this story, to warn you. This combined Fall Guy FNAF character killed my family but then vanished. I fortunately wasn't wrongfully accused of their deaths, but no one believes me when I try to tell them what really happened. Number 1. Fall Guys Dark Web Edition. This is a story my friend told me about someone they knew who was invited to play a dark web version of Fall Guys. The dark web is a place where people go to basically conduct illegal business trades and find easier ways to commit all kinds of twisted and heinous crimes. The rumor goes that the dark web Fall Guys is a game with real-world stakes, where there's a room full of people with numbers tattooed on them to represent the users in the game. Every time one of the in-game characters is eliminated, one of the real-world people is executed by electrocution. There is a live feed available for you to see supposedly in the top right corner, and if you win, the person with your number tattooed on them is forced to wear a crown made of razor-sharp barbed wire. My friend told me that they heard from their friend that the live feed looks super real. At first they apparently thought it was all fake, just some kind of sick joke, but when they saw someone die for the first time on camera, they began to question if it was fake or if it was real. The death and the person who came to drag their lifeless body out both seemed very real.